goes to right. Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah!
Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Party on Broad. Today, our Sixers draft continues, and we're covering a guy that doesn't even turn 19 until freaking December, which is unbelievable. But here he is, one of the top, I think Tiago will agree, prospects for the Sixers in the first round. He is Josh Primo. We're going to break him down. We're going to talk about his strengths, weaknesses, and we're going to talk about his fit with the Philadelphia 76ers. Before we get started, though, guys, if you're watching us live, be sure to comment. Let us know your thoughts on Josh Primo. We'll talk about him. And also, always be sure to like, comment, and subscribe here. Turn on notifications. Joining me today is my man, Tiago. Follow him on Twitter at tscabia. Good morning, Tiago.
Good morning, Chris. Just one more prospect on the road to 1,000 that we're trying to get to. It's almost at the end, but it's good to talk about Josh Primo, who is he's quite a player, man. You're talking about home run swings. He's probably at the very, very top of that list in terms of project potential and the potential stardom. I mean, really, the guy has stardom a little bit written on his game. So, yeah, excited to talk about him.
Yeah, when you watch the tape, there's flashes. I think the definition of this guy is flashes, and he does a lot. Let's start the tape. Tiago, who is Josh Primo?
Yeah, so I think teams are very excited about the potential because he was not talked about very much about a couple months ago. But especially after the NBA Combine, he has really risen up the draft boards, and he went from perhaps coming back for his second year at Alabama. He's even interviewed some lottery teams. I think is going to fall within that 20 to 30 range, which is where they're picking. But Josh Primo was the youngest player in college basketball last year. Canadian born. He's at some time with the Canadian national team. So he played for the under-19 Canada team at the World Cup, the 2019 World Cup, and he averaged something like 4 points a game. Not a lot, but again, for a guy who's that young, he's already getting international kind of play. That's kind of a big deal. So he put that on his cap. And last year, he was really part of a very, very seasoned Alabama team. So Herb Jones, a draft prospect for Alabama, John Petty, another kind of drafty kind of like prospect for Alabama, two seniors, very, very seasoned, and came in, again, as the youngest guy in college basketball. Didn't play much in the beginning, but by December, he was already starting for them and playing 30-plus minutes a night, which is a big deal, again, for a very young guy and on a very seasoned team with high expectations. And, had a game against Kentucky with 30-some points, 30-some minutes, Auburn, 30-some minutes, had 22 points in 18 minutes against LSU. So you kind of see the explosiveness around his game and the potential around, where he's at now in his career, already starting for, veteran teams and putting, massive scoring performance. So I think the hope is that he can develop some of that over time at the NBA, but, he's far from that right now. I mean, he's not even close to the player that you can say is even, playable, much less starter ready at the NBA. So yeah, that's kind of his overall arc so far.
We have Ben Butler joining. Good morning, Ben. What's going on, man? Thank you for joining. I'm trying to find the right video. I keep adding the wrong one here. But Tiago, what are some of his strengths? It's just shooting, right? Shooting.
Yeah, I mean the shot aspect of his game is something that I think teams are going to very enamored with early because he averaged something like 44% in half-court catch and shoot threes. Mm-hmm. He's got a super smooth, super quick catch and shoot release. So, he'll get the ball, set and fire right away. There's not a lot of wasted motion in his game. And he's a guy who's 6'5" at a 6'9" inch wingspan at whatever age is it, 18, going to turn 19, something like that. So that's a big deal, man, because you're talking about that shot making profile with that size at that age. I think there's going to be growth in his body. There's going to be growth in his, size. And now you're really talking about, perhaps almost like a small forward type player with guard-like traits, right? So a guy who's able to handle the ball, who's able to shoot off the catch, He does a lot of it off the corner. So you think about what the Sixers have done, at least under Doc Rivers, is generate a lot more corner threes with Denny Green and Furkan Korkmaz. Primo does a lot of his shooting off the corner. He's got, especially off that left corner, he's really accurate, very efficient off that left corner. So you start talking about, can this guy potentially develop into kind of a corner three type specialist? Got that in his game. A significant range. He will take shots from sometimes 2 to 3 feet behind the arc. And that seems to be the trend of NBA games so far, especially the last couple of years. Guys shooting further and further back from the arc, creating more space, creating more matchup issues for the defense. So he's got that going on in this game. But, we saw a lot of it at Alabama as an off-the-ball player because, Herb Jones being kind of a big, playmaker for them, seasoned vet, understands what he's doing. So a lot of the stuff that Alabama was doing was with Primo off the ball. Now, when you watch him on the ball, there is definitely playmaking there. I mean, he is a guy who does show great flash of creating shooting space for himself. He's got a tight handle, takes defenders off the dribble, creates off the dribble, and really can show a flash of being a kind of a pull-up threat. So I think that profile of, the floor spacing with the hints of playmaking is something that's going to get his conversation in the first round because, at that size, if you have the ability to handle the ball the way that he does, now you're talking about, can he become kind of a 3-level scorer, right? So a guy takes it from, the 3, mid-range, and then finish at the rim on the ball. And that's what stars at the NBA do and are. So I think that's where teams are kind of projecting him, is that kind of stardom level. Can he do it at all 3 levels, on and off the ball? And I think he's shown at Alabama, especially off the ball, but hints that on the ball he can be some of that same kind of player. So that's really the excitement around his game, is can he do that? But again, far projection. We can talk about his negatives. He does a lot of wild stuff on the court as well.
Yeah, you nailed it. Like catch and shoot, 44%. Pull up shooting, like high percentile. Very good shooter. But when you talk about his ability on the ball, like that's what I'm interested in most. Like that's what I want to know. That's what NBA teams and scouts will surely be working on with him because Ben. First of all, we got Teddy joining. Good morning, Teddy. What is going on? Kevin says good morning. Hi. Ben says, does he pass? He was only at 10% of the pick and roll possessions at Alabama. So like Tiago said, this is all projection, but when he did it, he made the smart pass and his numbers were really strong. So that's, that I'm sure that's what every single scout will be talking to about this kid is what is he at the next level? Because he checks a lot of boxes. Let's go on to weaknesses. Tiago, what are some of his weaknesses?
Yeah, so the passing is it's tough to tell because he just was not asked to run offense at Alabama. And I think that teams, whoever drafts him, say it's the Sixers, I think the plan is to have him be in the G League and really develop as a point guard. So you already know, you see right there the shot. I mean, he's going to be a floor spacer. I mean, there's no question about it. Everything about his mechanics and his process is very clean. But you're really trying to get more out of the player, and that is becoming kind of like a point guard in your offense. So you put him in the G League and you really have him kind of work through all those kinks and all those mistakes. And, he's doubled the turnovers and he's had assists in college basketball, which is a terrible sign. Mm-hmm. But again, it's a young player just trying to figure himself out in the game. And so I think teams are definitely going to try to pull that out of his game. So a weakness for me is, I thought when you watch him on the ball, he's not super explosive. So he doesn't have a particular quick first step. He's got, great change of direction and, keeps his handle to his body and is able to kind of manipulate defenders that way. But as a explosive athlete on the ball, he reminds me a little bit like Shake Milton.
Yes.
We all watch Shake Milton, right? So, yeah, he's got good intentions to get to the rim, but sometimes you just can't get there, man. I mean, the NBA game is too quick. It's too explosive, and he kind of has to settle in that mid-range area. Now, Shake has developed some game to him, right? So you watch him on the ball, like he does, a little pump fake or a little up and under kind of thing. He's kind of figured out a little bit how to live in the paint. So he's going to have to do that because I do not see him as this explosive kind of downhill athlete on the ball. Yeah. And, if he doesn't kind of develop, a refined game around that, he's really going to have a very tough time finishing in the paint around the basket. I mean, he's got great size, right? He's got, the wingspan, the frame, and he's going to grow. But you look at even like his transition scoring, right? And he's like in something like the 30th percentile in transition scoring, which tells you like this guy's going to struggle to finish at the rim, at least right now. So that's something he's going to have to really refine around this game because, I mean, he's got the ball handling profile to kind of get there, but the athleticism doesn't stick out. But I do think like defensively, so even though he's not like super explosive, I will say that when I watched him defensively, like he could really move in space. And I think he's got potential to be a switchable player who can defend out in the perimeter against other guards. I mean, he's very clean footwork, does a very good job sticking with his defenders. So while he's not like super explosive, I do think that defensively, he just doesn't look like a guy who's going to be exploitable very much. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, the Sixers are not going to ask him to do anything on the ball, especially right away. So it's not something he's going to have to be tested upon, but over time, he's going to have to kind of develop that. You see that like right on, on the video. He's got to be like very crafty. He just can't lift up and kind of dunk over his defenders. He's not that type of player.
Right. That kind of goes right into our fit with the Philadelphia 76ers. We said at the beginning of the show, doesn't turn 19 until December. So does this guy fit the timetable for, the Sixers championship window right now? Like from the surface, clear fit with Tyrese Maxey in the backcourt. Clear fit. Like I like that potential there is really tantalizing, and he's actually my number 4 on my first round big board if he's available at number 28 for the Sixers. But I think the biggest question is here: will Daryl Morey or Doc Rivers be willing to kind of wait and be patient and allow this kid to grow? Any thoughts on that, Tiago?
Will Doc Rivers be patient? Absolutely not. Doc Rivers will win a title, and he could care less about the youth in this team. That's what I think. I think the fit with the Sixers win curve is very small because, the names we're hearing yesterday, for instance, is, Dame Lillard. Dame Lillard is not going to come here to play with Josh Primo. He's going to come here to play with Joel Embiid. He's going to come here to play with whatever other veteran player is out here because, he does not want to do the process thing or anything close to that at this point of his career. That is to say that I don't think the Sixers should ignore Josh Primo, especially in the first round, because the arc and the projection is extremely high. You're talking about a guy who can potentially develop into like a complementary star player. I mean, again, high projections. I mean, this is like way out there, but teams are interested in him for kind of similar reasons. So, just because you're at a win curve and you have specific expectation at the moment doesn't necessarily mean you should pass up on players who are at that kind of like impact projection. There are ways you can play them. So we talk about this a lot with the Sixers this year. Maxey was a guy who showed hints of playmaker early in the year and then just saw the bench, right? And just rode the bench for months. And when you needed a guy like Maxey, he was there for you, and it made you wonder, like, could the Sixers have played him more over the stretch of the season? Primo, again, doesn't have to play 20, 25 minutes a game, but if you're having a two-way contract, a two-way kind of G League to NBA contract, then can he come in and give you 5 to 10 minutes occasionally just to kind of get a splash of what the NBA game is like? And if he's showing similar growth and Maxey showed at a very young age, Maxey was a very young player last year as well, then why not? Like, why don't you play him, from 10 to 15? Because, man, the NBA game is about, playmaking, scoring, defense. And if these guys are showing at that level, then play them, So I don't now. Do I think Primo's going to be that player? Probably not. I think Primo's got a longer ways to go than even Maxey. I think that, he's probably not going to really see the court at all at his rookie year. But, I mean, when you talk about projection, impact at pick 28, I mean, you did the big board, Chris. I would even say I would put Primo up there with Trey Murphy as like, the high impact player that you probably get at pick 28.
Yeah, like that's the biggest question. But for me, at the end of the day, like my philosophy with a late first round pick, when you're talking about a late first round pick, you swing for the fences almost every time. Like if this is your best guy, if this is the best talent, regardless of position, you do that every single time. And that's, I think, Primo's at number 28 is definitely high on that list. So
And I thought the Sixers did that last year. So I thought, like, sorry to interrupt you, but like the Maxi pick was a little bit like that, and I'll give him credit for that because there were guys on the board who were like better fits, like shooting wise. But the Sixers saw like, hey, this guy could kind of be like a big deal, and they took a swing at him, and it worked. So why not do it again, right? I mean, I know the Sixers like in general more seasoned vets, more kind of win ready now player.
Mm-hmm.
But I would put Primo as one of those like maybe this guy could be like a star type player.
Yep. Any other thoughts on fit with the Sixers, Tiago?
I mean, that's sort of what it is. I mean, I talked about him as specific on the court as a corner three threat. The Sixers under Doc Rivers has seen their corner threes spike up, which is a good thing. Denny Green may not be here next year. Furkan Korkmaz may not be here next year. So two guys who kind of shoot from the corner. Again, probably not gonna play next year, but fits the same type of philosophy that the Sixers are doing. And transition player. I mean, he's the guy who runs the court. And if the Sixers continue to play that up and down place under Ben Simmons, assuming Ben Simmons is here, like he's a good player to have around them over time. So yeah, on the court, these are kind of like how I saw the fit.
Ben says, what about picks 7 and 14, for example? I think he's talking about a particular trade. Ben, if that trade goes down, those picks are not going to the Sixers. Those picks are going to a third team, right, Tiago?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they are. But like, I know people are very enamored by the Dame Lillard pick, the Dame Lillard potential trade, and there's gonna be a moment that may come to fruition. It may not even be in the offseason, maybe at the trade deadline. So just don't just brush the draft aside as like, this is just a process to get Dame Lillard. There's a high likelihood that Dame Lillard may not get traded to start the year. And, the Sixers, assuming that, he's available at the trade deadline, then the Sixers want to have as many assets available to them to potentially make the move, right? You want to have players you can play around with and say, okay, how about this guy? How about that guy? So utilize the draft to get those players, and then when the conversation comes, maybe at the trade deadline, to have here's Josh Primo, here's what he's shown, or here's Tyrese Maxey, guys you can kind of manipulate with to kind of play around in a trade. So just don't brush the draft aside as like, hey, we're gonna get Dame Lillard anyway, so who cares about these picks, kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Teddy says off topic, but I'm praying for Beal and Lowry. All right, yeah. We're not going to turn this into a Ben Simmons pod. We want to keep this short and sweet regarding Josh Primo. But if you guys want to hear our thoughts on Ben Simmons, go check out our previous pods where we break down Bradley Beal. We break down his season review of Ben Simmons. That's all there here on our channel. But let's save that for another time. But guys, Tiago, where can we find you? What do you got going on, man?
Yeah, so I'm finishing up an article on who I think the Sixers should target as floor spacers. Primo's definitely on that list. There's a couple of names: Chris Duarte, Isaiah Livers, Quentin Grimes, Wieskamp, a guy we talked about, very prolific shooter. So link to that. All the podcasts that we've done on them are linked to that article. Then we'll do another one on kind of skilled bigs. So I think the Sixers also need like a skilled big guy who can stretch the floor when Joel is on the bench. And then we're also doing one on kind of ball handler types who the Sixers can also always use. So guards that can really kind of do a lot of different things. So yeah, we'll do 3 separate series of that. We're finishing up the floor spacer one today. Hopefully it's out soon and go from there.
Awesome. I just published my top 5 big board for the Sixers in the first round. Josh Primo was on that list. You want to check that out at thepaintlines.com. I'm going to be making a video out of that today as well. Here on the channel, and I'll be doing a second round big board, way too early second round big board, and we'll see how that works in a couple of weeks. I'm sure it's going to be all messed up. Anyway, if you guys love the NBA draft, please give this video a like. This is our 24th, 23rd scouting report here for the Sixers. So if you love the Sixers, you love the NBA draft, check out all of our scouting reports here. Just, type in Party on Broad, view the playlist. It's all there. As well as NBA draft scouting reports. Highlight reels. Those are all there as well. Separate videos with stats and all that kind of stuff. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Follow my man Tiago on Twitter at tscabia. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Crackpot. I think tomorrow we're doing Austin Reeves, and we are going to do Trey Mann. Trey Mann is definitely another.
He's the real deal, man.
Sexy name there. Fun score. We'll be breaking those two down tomorrow. So thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll catch you next time. Stay awesome.
Sixers win it! Wow! Oh, man, Embiid just posted right. Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia